Everything was different in the 70s than it is now, except the Middle East is exactly the same. You know, like I have 2 kids, and they fight sometimes. Somehow this has to do with Israel and Palestine. I don't know. It is because my kids are like Israel and Palestine. And I'm like America. The little one's like Palestine because she always gets screwed. She gets the worst deals. She's like, she threw a rock at my face. I'm like, you're fine. Look, you have a great life. You get to take a rock to the face once in a while. You're fine. The older one is like Israel. She comes up to me. She burnt all my dolls. I'm like, look, I can't do anything about it right now. Your sister is crazy. Please don't make me talk to her. Go out. I'll buy you a really cool missile, and you do whatever you do with it. It's totally up to you. Yeah, that sounds hard. Okay, thank you. Okay, now you. Because I like this one a little more, so I'm this one.
I do think it's brilliant we're finally seeing plus-size models on the catwalk. I worry if I do fat jokes, I'll never reach a wider audience. Well, if you're fat and you're offended, be the bigger person.
Would you fight somebody using their feet, man? Like, if we go to fight, I'm gonna tell you, put your hands up. Put your hands up, let's fight. Now, if I go to fight you and you start stretching, I mean, you know some shit I don't know. I'm not gonna fight you. I had an incident where a guy started, well, he tried. He didn't use it on me, but he was gonna attempt to use his feet. I was with my mom, right? Me and my mom, we in the parking lot of Best Buy. I'm looking for a parking space. Now, all the spaces was taken, but there was one truck about to back into this parking spot, but he was taking too long, so I got mad, I stole it. I whipped into the spot real fast. Like, you know when you're wrong because you put your head down and roll your windows up. You don't want to look at him, you start humming. Out of nowhere, the guy got out the truck. He was like, yo, man, I know you saw me about to back into that spot. If you back out, we're going to have a problem. Chinese guy, right? Now, with my mom, so I ain't going to be no bitch. I was like, well, I guess we got a problem. This is how I know I didn't want this problem. This is exactly what he did to me. He's like, oh, so we got a problem? Do we?
So now my wife, she's 5 months pregnant. She's 6 months, 7, 8 months pregnant. This thing just hanging over my head. And finally I just said to my wife, I'm like, we got to do something about this, man. I'm not going to be this guy in the news being like, well, you know, the dog loved me and my wife, so I figured it'd be all right to let it sleep near the bassinet. And well, you can imagine my surprise the next morning. Yeah, I wasn't going to be that guy in the news whose dog ate his baby, right? I got to get rid of this thing. So we call my trainer and he goes, all right, I'll take it. Okay, so thank God they're not going to put the dog down or anything like that. So I'm like, thank God. So he goes, I'll come back in a week. And it was very sad because we both love this dog like with all our hearts, right? And what amazed me though was over that week, the way my wife handled grief versus me. It was so mature. She just like took it on. I just went into denial. I was just like, well, I'm not giving it away tomorrow, so I'm not going to think about it. And I just called the dog up in the bed, started petting her and lashing out at people for no fucking reason, right?
Please, if you got a good husband, a good man, hold on tight. Another woman will take your husband. They'll take him. There's women in here right now with stolen husbands. You know who you are. You're like, that bitch was slipping. That's right, hold tight, or another woman will take your man. Fellas, you don't gotta really worry about that. Nobody's taking your wife. Oh, don't get me wrong. They'll fuck your wife. Oh, they'll fuck her good. They'll fuck her better than you. But they're not gonna take her. There's no guy going, yeah, I want her to yell at me the way she yells at him. Or they'll fuck her, and then they'll return her. I believe this is yours.
As I'm getting older, what I'm doing now is I'm just making sure I'm the best looking one of my friends. It's really easy. I cut certain people out of my life, and I now hand select strangers off of Facebook and surround myself with real trolls and reptiles. You should see these monsters. I had a friend, Nikki, she kept losing weight. I took her out of my phone. Oh, I'm sorry.
And for the first time, there was a new school of thought that was chemically induced that made people question the very society they lived in. By 1960, the President of the United States was only 42 years old. Can you imagine? DMX is older than that. And he was going to usher in a new era of peace. He was going to avoid the Cold War. He was going to end segregation. And they blew his fucking brains out in front of everyone in Dallas. This country was never the same. There were 7 more major assassinations in the 60s. Anyone that stood up and said anything was shot down the streets like a fucking dog. Kennedy, King, X, Evers, on and on. You didn't even have to be famous. You could be a college student at Kent State or in Mississippi protesting the Vietnam War, and they shot them too. The 70s were a wild era, and while all this was going on, Bill Cosby raped 54 people.